Next one is Dine Hadas. The third one is Dine Arova, and the fourth one is Es. According to the Seder of the Shulchan Aruch, it's about Lulav. So there's a few points about a lulav. What are we looking for when we buy a lulav? It says, mitzvah min hamufcher, that the leaves should be attached, like not attached, but the leaves should be like one, not separate. Mitzvah min hamufcher lit lulav she'ein alav prudois klal. Okay, today when you get a lulav, the lulav on its way. The lulav stays on the tree longer, then it starts to separate a little the leaves. One thing we're looking for a lulav, that the leaves are together as one. The lulav she'alav dvukim usmuchim zeh lo zeh. What else are you looking for when you get a lulav? Lulav should be mahudar. The lulav is that it's green, it's fresh, it looks fresh, green. The main thing that we look for is a concept that's called a lulav hasholem, complete lulav. What does it mean, a complete lulav? Lulav hasholem. Lulav hasholem means that the ala hoemtsoi, the middle top leaf, that's called the top of the lulav, the middle top leaf, and the leaves of the lulav are generally double leaves. Each leaf is a double leaf. The top leaf, the middle one, is also a double leaf, and it's the top. So lulav hasholem means that the top leaf is completely closed. It's not even a drop open. Now, the Alter Rebbe puts it that l'chatchila mitzvah min hamuvchar lachzer l'chazer achalulav shaloi nechlak ala ho'elyon shaloi klal. It's a mitzvah min hamuvchar, that take a lulav that the top leaf, the middle leaf, is not at all open, it's completely closed. That's called a lulav hasholem, complete lulav. That means that the leaf, the top leaf is completely closed. Now, many lulavim come with moich on the top that covers it up. You don't see the top. So then you could assume that it's completely closed. Generally it is. If there's no moich and the leaves are open, then it's possible that sometimes it can open up a little bit. But if it's closed in the moich, that's the brown covering that's over it, then generally it's okay. And some say that it's a hiddur. Some say it's a hiddur to take with moich. The Rebbe's lulav had moich. Everyone knows the Rebbe's lulav had moich. So we generally look for a lulav with moich, but it's kosher even without it, as long as it's sholem. That means the top leaf is not split at all. But this, it's important to say, this is only a mitzvah min hamuvchar. That the top leaf should not be split at all. It's only a mitzvah min hamuvchar. But it's kosher even if it's split and open, as long as it's not more than half. It's still kosher. But the Yevid, in other words, if you took it, mitzvah namuvcher is to take a lulav that's closed completely, but it's kosher even if it's open. So it's not a pshat that if it's a little open, the lulav is possible. No, the lulav is kosher. But it's a mitzvah namuvcher to look for a lulav that's completely closed. If it's open until half of the length of the leaf, it's still kosher. And the way the Alter Rebbe says is that if you got a lulav that was completely closed, and then on Sukkot at night, before you had a chance to make the bracha, in the morning it got open a little bit, so the Alter Rebbe says Einoi tzorech levorech halulav shel chaveiroi. You don't have to go and find your friend's lulav. Go take your friend's lulav. No, if this is your lulav, and lepoil, it's a little bit open, as long as it's not more than half, it's okay to say the bracha on this. That's the way the Alter Rebbe puts it. It's important to mention that the reason for this din, in other words, why is it that if it's split more than half, it's nechlak ruboy, most of it, why is it that it's possible? So the reason is because it says ulekach tem lochem, and we learn from the word ulekach tem, it's as if we would say lekach tam. It has to be tomim, tmima, lekicha tama. It has to be a complete lulav. And tama means complete, whole, complete. And this, the alo hamtsoi, is like the peak of the lulav, the top, and that's where you could see. It's noticeable more. So if it's open a little bit, it's not called lekicha tama. That's the reason why it's possible if it's split more than half. But the Alter Rebbe clarifies it later in Siman Tov Reish Mem Tes that this psul of lekicha tama only applies on the first day of Sukkot and in Chutz La'aretz on Yom Tov Sheni. But on Chol HaMoed, this psul is b'chlal not relevant. So that means if you have a lulav and you're ready, lulav sholim, or if something happened to your lulav, let's say your lulav became posel and it's Chol HaMoed and you need another lulav, now you don't have to look for a lulav that's closed. Even if it's completely open, it's perfectly kosher. Chol HaMoed, a lulav that's split even completely, the top is kosher l'chatchila.
What psul would it have?
What psul would it have? Niktam roishoi. Niktam roishoi is posel mishum hodur, ein zeh hodur. It says pre-eitz hodor. And we learn that all the DALED MINIM have to be mehudur. And hodor is posel. If something is not hodor, it's posel the whole sukkah. So that's another psul that's possible by a lulav. Niktam roishoi. If the top is chopped off, a tiny piece of the top is chopped off, but it's noticeable. You see that it's missing a piece. That's posel because it's not hodor. That's posel the whole sukkah. Lulav hayovesh is posel the whole sukkah because it's not hodor. Okay, but the concept of lekicha tama applies only on the first day, and the second day, which is the Chutz La'aretz, it's the same as the first day. Another psul that's similar to this is nistak. Nistak means that the two parts of the lulav, like nistak hemnik, means that the lulav on top looks like two lulavim, like this. The whole thing splits and it looks like this. That's called nistak ad sheyiro kishnayim. It's also possible because of lekicha tama. So on Chol HaMoed it's kosher. Another point in the lulav is that it should be straight. Should be straight means that the lulav itself should not be bent. The lulav should be straight. It shouldn't be like that. The lulav shouldn't look like that. That's called lulav shenekam. If it's crooked, it became crooked. It's not straight. So if the whole lulav is like that, it's posel. The only type of nekam is kosher is if the middle of the lulav bends towards you. If it bends towards you, then it's okay. Straight, but if it bends like that towards you, in other words, the top is straight and the bottom is straight, but the middle bends in towards you, then it's kosher. That's called nekam la'achurov, l'tzad ponov, kosher. But this is only be'emtzeisa. Not that the whole lulav is bent. But the middle of the lulav curves. If the middle of the lulav curves towards you, it's good. But if the middle of the lulav curves to the outside or to the sides, then it's possible. Okay, generally, they don't. Most of the lulavim don't come this way. Most of the lulavim are straight. But there's a hidur that the shedra should be straight. That's a hidur. It's kosher no matter what. But it's a hidur. We're looking for a lulav. Try to see that the shedra that's in the middle of the lulav should go up straight. That's a hidur. It's called lulav that's more mahudr when the shedra is straight. That's not something that's me'akiv. It doesn't affect the lulav if it's not.
How do you see a shedra?
Shedra is the middle part of the lulav. The middle part of the lulav, that's the stick of the lulav itself. So to say, the lulav, you have the stick of the lulav, and then you have the leaves that come out of it. So on the bottom, the shedra is wide, and the top, it gets narrow and narrow. But you look at the shedra, you follow from the top to the bottom, you want to see that the shedra is more or less straight. The shedra doesn't turn like that. You want to see that the shedra is straight. That's a hidur when looking for a lulav. When choosing a lulav, this is what you want to see. There is a concept of the top of a lulav that's called kneplach. It means that the leaves on top of the lulav, they go over in a round shape. Top of the lulav, mamish the top, the leaves don't come straight to a tip. On top, they bend over a little bit, like roundish. That's called kneplach, a lulav mit kneplach. So in Sefer HaMenhagim says that we don't take such a lulav. Minig Chabad is shaloichem lulav she'ein alov kfufen kneplach. In other words, it could be a nice lulav, but the tip doesn't have moich, and you see that the tip, you could see like the leaves bent over the top, and round, like roundish, they bend over and go. You're looking to avoid that. You're looking for leaves that go straight up and don't bend over in a roundish way. How big does a lulav have to be? So you need that the shedra should be 4 tfachim. That means before the leaves start coming out of the shedra, from the bottom of the lulav until the area that the leaves start coming out, should be at least 4 tfachim. That's what we're looking for. According to Rabbi Chaim, tefach is a little more than 3 inches. 4 tfachim is like close to 13 inches. Why does the lulav have to be 4 tfachim high? So it says because the shedra of the lulav, before the leaves start coming out of it, should be higher, should come out after the hadasim and the ravas end. There should still be shedra coming out, another tefach, before the leaves of the lulav start coming out. So the shir of hadasim and the ravas is 3 tfachim. The height of hadasim and the ravas is 3 tfachim. That's the minimum shir. And so from the bottom of the lulav, you can have 3 tfachim for the hadasim and the ravas, and then you need another tefach of the lulav, of the shedra, before the leaves start coming out, that comes above the hadasim and the ravas. So many lulavim are tall lulavim that have more than 4 tfachim. But in any case, when you put the hadasim and the ravas on the lulav, you should make sure that after they end on the top of the hadasim and the ravas, the lulav still continues a tefach without any leaves coming out of it. That's what you're supposed to make sure when you make your lulav. Now, generally, hadasim and aravis might be longer than 3 tfachim. So if you need to, it's okay to cut them on the bottom. You can cut off part of the hadassim and the rovas on the bottom to make them shorter. It shouldn't be too much more than 3 tfachim. You know, as if your lulav is a smallish lulav. You don't have, if you're going to put the way your hadassim and the rovas come, you won't have a tefach of the shedra of the lulav coming out. Then you should take a tape measure and measure the hadassim and the rovas. If it's more than 3 tfachim, you can cut off from the bottom part of it to make it smaller, that it shouldn't go so high on the lulav. Speaking about this, the Alter Rebbe also says that there's a minik. Yesh noyagin lahagbiya hahadas betoich ha'ogud l'mayla min ha'arova me'at mitama yadua lahem. This seems to be al pi Kabbalah, that the hadassim should be higher than the arovas. Also in Sefer HaMenhagim it says mishtadlim sheha'arovas lo yero kol kach. Make an effort that the arovas shouldn't be seen so much. Especially in Lubavitcher, we have more hadassim. But even if you have 3 hadassim and 2 arovas, you could still try to cover the hadassim, the arovas a little bit with the hadassim. If you have more hadassim, right? Tafshin Ubeis, the Rebbe said that everyone should try to have at least 3 more hadassim, at least 6 in total. And some people have more hadassim. So there's a concept that we try to see that the arovas shouldn't be seen that much. It should be like bottle in the hadassim. So because of all of this, it's understood that you don't want the arovas to be higher than the hadassim on the lulav. Naturally, many times arovas are higher than the hadassim. So then, for sure, you want to cut the bottom off on the arovas on the bottom to make them shorter, that they shouldn't be coming up higher than the hadassim. Okay. Speak about the hadassim. The next siman is about the hadassim. Hadassim is known that hadassim are supposed to be meshuloshim. Meshuloshim means that should be 3 leaves that come out from the same stem. On the same level, 3 leaves surround the stick of the hadas. So again, the shear of a hadas is 3 tfachim, and l'chatchila, Alter Rebbe says l'chatchila, you should look for a hadas that the entire shear of 3 tfachim is meshulish. Because sometimes the bottom leaves of the hadas are not meshulish. When it goes higher up, it starts to become meshulish. There are such hadasim. The bottom is not meshulish. Higher up, it starts to become meshulish. So you want to see that the top 3 tfachim are completely meshulish. That's l'chatchila. So today when you buy packages of hadassim, it says on it, kulei meshulish, rubei meshulish. So l'chatchila, you should look for one that says kulei meshulish. The whole shear of 3 tfachim. But in that itself, there's a shear of 3 tfachim of Rabbi Chaim, which is our shear that we go by, and then there's this bigger shear. So if it says meshulish, gimel tfachim, lefi shear hagrach noah, or meshulish kulei, lefi shear hagrach noah, then it's fine. If it's only ruboy meshulish, it's still kosher. But l'chatchila, you should look for a hadas that's kulei meshulish. Okay, it speaks over here about if a hadas gets dry, if it dries up. If it's yavesh, it's possible. But yavesh means that it changes color, it loses the green color, it gets like whitish, and it becomes crumbly. Today, we don't have this issue. Hadassim, you buy hadassim, you keep it in the refrigerator, and then you put it in your lulav, keep it in the plastic. Hadassim last. Hadassim don't become yavesh today. Aravis.
Sometimes one of the leaves is smaller, it's fine. One of them shulish is like...
It doesn't matter if it's smaller. It's still kosher. 3 come out from the same stem, it's kosher. Of course, it means that what is it called? Alav choifenes eitzoi. The leaves cover the stem, cover the stick of the hadas. That's the hidur of a hadas. Alav choifenes eitzoi. So you want to look for a nice hadas means that the leaves basically cover the stick. You don't see parts of the stick that's not covered with leaves. This is a nice hadas. Years ago, what? Four is fine. Years ago, they had bundles of hadassim. You had to go choose hadassim. Today, they sell packaged hadassim. It's easy, but nevertheless, when you go to buy a package of hadassim, take a look at it, at the hadassim. Some of them, the top leaves are a little dry. Some of them, some parts are not so nice. Examine the hadassim before you take it. You want to take hadassim that look nice. You do a mitzvah. So look at the hadassim. See through on one side at least. You could see. Look for hadassim that look fresh and nice, and the leaves cover the stick completely. That's what you need. Aravis. We take only 2 aravis for the lulav. And by aravis, if the top is cut off, the top of the stick is cut off, it's possible. By hadassim, also, obviously, it's hadassim is not as strict. Alter Rebbe says by hadassim, there's different opinions. If the top is cut off, but the leaves cover it, could be it's okay by hadassim. But nevertheless, you don't take a hadas that the tip is cut off. But aravis, mamish possible, if the eitz atzmoi is cut off on top, it's possible. So Alter Rebbe warns over here that if the aravis are too long, be careful that you shouldn't cut them on top. Elo lamata, cut them only on the bottom. Don't cut them on top. Now he says that if most of the leaves came off the arava, it's possible. And it could be common. Of course, when you shake the lulav and you stick the aravas into the lulav, it's shaykh. It tells you to be careful, to make sure that the leaves don't become disconnected from the arava. Because if more than half of the leaves are off, then it's possible. Okay, today it generally doesn't happen. You're careful.
Possibly even the rest of Sukkot?
Yeah, it's possibly even the rest of Sukkot. It's not hodor. If it's missing most of the leaves, it's not hodor. Now, the Alter Rebbe says though, that lechatchila im efsher bekal limtzoi shleima sheloi noshru me'aleho klum shehashleima hu mivtzah min hamufcha. Mitzvah never, if it's possible to take an arava that is not missing even one leaf. This is what he says by aravas.
Did you change the mouth to Rabbi?
One second. So when you're going to buy aravas, sometimes you could see that one arava is missing a leaf. A leaf fell off. Talking about from the shir, obviously, from the top 3 tfachim. Sometimes you could see that one leaf fell off, so don't take that one. You should take one that not even one leaf fell off in the top 3 tfachim of the arava. It says in Sefer HaMenhagim that b'meshech yemei chol hamoyed machlifin hahadasim v'ha'aravos kulam oichelik mehem. During chol hamoyed sukkos, it's our minhag that we change the hadasim and the haravos for fresh ones, some of them or part of them. Now, in today's situation, many times hadassim stay fresh the whole time. If you keep them in plastic, the hadassim more or less could stay fresh the whole time. It's not common that a hadas should not look nice anymore and you'll have to replace it. It could happen, but it's not common. But aravis, we all know, aravis don't last that long. Aravis, they change colors, they turn blackish sometimes, and aravis don't last so long, and it's definitely proper to change the aravis during Chol HaMoed Sukkos. So you make your lulav on the Erev Sukkos with fresh hadassim and aravis. try to keep it as fresh as you could. Everybody has their methods how to keep it fresh. But then Chol Hamoed Sukkos is a proper thing to change at least the Arovis. Hadassim also, you could, if you find that one of your Hadassim is not so nice, but I would say that since we have more than 3 Hadassim, so at least 3 are going to be nice. And you're still going to have three nice, generally you're still going to have 3 nice Hadassim. So it's not as important to change the Hadassim. But obviously, when there was no plastics, then even the Hadassim did not remain fresh so long on the lulav.
You could pull up the Rabbi Sat and put the tumors back. Then you better redo the whole thing.
It's very difficult to do that. You want that you shouldn't lose any leaves. Yeah, if you can do it, it's fine. If you can do it, it's fine. But you also want to put the Arovis in a way that the Hadassim should be covering them. And you want to make sure that in the whole process, not even one leaf comes off. So it's safer if you take off the ties and you make new ones. What? The Rebbe says, Shomati hoirois la'anoshim shoinim, to take 4, 12, 13, or 26. But I did not hear to take 9, 68, or 69. These are the numbers that the Rebbe mentions. 12 you could take. Again, on Tafshin Beis, the Rebbe said everyone should have at least 3 more, which will total 6. So, in other words, there's no significance in the number 9. If a significant number is 4, 12, 13, or 26. But if you feel that more Hadassim makes it look nicer, and the Arovis get covered more, then it's fine. You could do that. You could add Hadassim. It doesn't have to be a certain number, dafka. But if you want to have an Indian of a certain number, these are the numbers that are mentioned. No, right. 12 is not, 12 is. 12 is, but 4 is not, right. 13. Okay. Okay, obviously when you're going to make the lulav on Erev Sukkot, our minig is that we make the lulav in the sukkah, right? We make the lulav in the sukkah itself. That's where we prepare the lulav on Erev Sukkot. And you should take out a Sefer HaMenhagim. When you do it, take out a Sefer HaMenhagim and see what it says, where you put the 2 rings and what you do. It's a good thing. Take out a Sefer HaMenhagim to make sure you do it right when you make your lulav. Basically, you make 2 rings on the lulav itself, and we make an effort that even the top leaf is going to be covered with the Hadassim and Arovis at least a little bit. And then we do 3 rings around the Hadassim and Arovis. And the 3 rings should be b'meshech tefach echad. Within 1 tefach should be the 3 rings that we tie the Hadassim and Arovis to the lulav. Okay, fine. Now let's speak about an esrig. People spend the most time on the esrig, choosing an esrig. So, esrig. What are we looking for an esrig? What makes an esrig posel? Let's put it this way. What makes an esrig posel? So if it had a pitim and part of the pitim fell off, it makes the esrig posel. It had a pitim and part of the thickness of the pitim fell off, it makes the esrig posel. That means there's a part of the top of the esrig where the pitim was that's now open without something on top of it. If just the top part of the pitim fell off, the sheshanta it's called, the top part of the pitim is called sheshanta, if that fell off, then it's a shaila if it's kosher or not. It's a shaila if just the sheshanta fell off. If the ukitz on the bottom of the esrig has the ukitz, that's the stem on the bottom, the piece of wood, right, that was attached to the tree. is there. So that's also, if that whole thing, or a part of it comes off, that you see the esrig that was underneath it, it's possible also. But that's also because l'kicha tama. Nital uktzoi is possible, and even a part of it, if it's all the way, if some of the ukets came off in the width, but there's still a piece that covers the whole hole, it's kosher. But if a piece that covers the hole came off, then it's possible, but that's only the first 2 days. Chalamoyed, if the whole uketz comes off, it's also kosher. Because nital uktzoi is because of l'kicha tama, shleimus. If the pitim comes off, it's possible even chalamoyed, because it's not hodor. But if the uketz comes off, it's only because of l'kicha tama, and therefore on chalamoyed it's okay. What else is there in the esrig? If it's chosar, if a little bit of it was cut off, chosar, a piece of the esrig is chosar, so according to one opinion, it's possible, even of kol shehu. According to one opinion. And we're supposed to be strict about that. So when you're buying an esrig, you're trying to make sure it's not chosar, there's nothing, no piece was cut off. And then there's a concept of menumor. If the esrig has different colors that are not from the mara esrig on the esrig, so basically, if there's a black spot on the esrig, or blue or red, any color that's not from the mara esrig, so this is something that could make the esrig possible. If there's a black spot, and a noticeable black spot on the esrig, it could make the esrig possible. Generally, if there's only one, it's kosher. If there's only one black spot on the esrig, it's kosher, unless it's on the choitim, the top of the esrig. The top part of the esrig, that's close to the top, that's called the choitim of the esrig. Over there, even one black spot is a problem. It's a noticeable black spot. And the Alter Rebbe clearly says...
the top of the pitum?
No, before the pitum. The part of the esrig that becomes narrow, towards the top, when the esrig starts to become narrow, the Alter Rebbe's lashon is Shemishom maschil lehiskatzer ulehischadeid. Starts to become smaller and sharper. Schadeid. Starts to become like a sharp. The higher part of the esrig that becomes narrower, that's called the choitim. And over there, even one black spot that's noticeable is an issue. But the Alter Rebbe says like this: V'hu sheyiyu nirin la'ayin kishaoich zoi biyodoi. V'loi sheyehi tzorich lahosim ein iyunoi aleihem ad sheyireim. And it has to be nire l'roiv b'nei odem b'hashkofa rishoina. It means you should hold it in your hand. You shouldn't hold it by your eye. Hold it in your hand normally, like you hold it in your hand. When you look at it, if you see it right away, without having to look very good, that's called a black spot that on the choitim, on the top part of the esrig, is a problem. And if it's on the bottom part of the esrig, not on the top, on the rest of the esrig, so the Alter Rebbe says that if there's two of them, and there's space between one and the other one, it already could be a psul. There's two black spots on the esrig that are not attached. There's esrig color between them. That already could be poisel the esrig mitzad not being hodor. So you want to make sure that the esrig doesn't have two black spots lower down, and not even one black spot on top, if it's noticeable when you hold it in your hand. If it's noticeable when you hold it in your hand, then you shouldn't take such a esrig.
There's also mitzad l'kichatam?
No, this is mitzad hodor.
Is there like amount of space that's between them?
What?
Amount of space between the dots?
No, if there's... the color of the esrog between them. If there's esrog in between them, that's all. The Alter Rebbe is machmir on this.
Meaning if one's on one side of the esrog and one's on the other side of the esrog, on the bottom.
There's two opinions. Basically, there's two opinions, and one opinion holds that the Alter Rebbe says if you have two of them and there's a mad esrog between them, it could be an issue. If it's in one spot, chazazis, even if it's a big chazazis, if it's only this, there's a black spot that's in one spot, or a mist-colored color on the esrog, not the proper color, that's in one spot. So if it's only on the miyut of the esrog, it's okay. But if it's in two areas, and between the two areas, there is at least enough regular esrog color, enough to be able to put there a little dot of the color that's no good, then it's already possible. So you should try to avoid this. An esrog has two is an issue. So you're looking to get an esrog that doesn't have two big spots. Some achronim say that if the spots are all the way on the bottom of the esrog, near the ukitz, that's okay because you don't see it. The bottom, all the way on the bottom, under the esrog, some say that over there spots are not a problem. So you can rely on that. It's known that in Lubavitch, we look for a nice gidul in the esrog. Nice, beautiful esrog. The esrog should be nice, it should be straight, shouldn't be crooked, the ukitz should be sheikeya, the bottom, the ukitz should be sunk into the esrog, shouldn't be the bottom part should be sinking into the esrog from bottom up. The bottom part of the esrog. The top part of the esrog should be straight. The tip of the esrog should be more or less in the center. This is what we look for. This is called a nice gidul in the esrog. What is common in the esrog is something that's called a blat fleckel. We call it a blat fleckel. What?
Lines.
What kind of lines?
In the esrog, there's lines.
The color of the esrog is fine. It's the color of the esrog is
It's
fine.
nicer, or not nicer?
Bletus, it's called bletus. Yeah, bletus means the esrog is different than a lemon. A lemon is smooth, and the esrog has little. Esrog has bletus. That's what it means. That's what it's called. Bletus means that it's a bunch of little pieces. But should look nice. Should look even and straight. That's what you're trying to find. Now, there's a concept of blat fleckelach, which means that when the esrog is growing on the tree, the leaves could rub against the esrog and make a spot on the esrog. And this spot on the esrog looks like the color of trees. It looks like the color of trees. It's brown, beige, light brown, beigeish color. This is very common on the esrogim. It's called a blat fleckel. The Alter Rebbe calls it blat moil. So this came machmas she'oiktzim oisoi koitzim. So yesh lahachshir afilu yesh behen ma'moshus. לפי שהן נחשבים גם כן מראה אסרויגים, מאחר שרגילו סוליות כך הרבה אסרויגים, it's okay. It's not called a shinui mare on the esrog. So most esrogim, or many esrogim, have these little blat fleklach. Blat fleklach means it's like a stain on the esrog. It's not the color of the esrog, but it's a natural thing that takes place in the growing of the esrog. It's not a fault of the esrog. It's a natural thing that the branches and the leaves scrape the esrog, scratch the esrog here and there, and it makes this little type of mark on it that grows, keeps on growing that way, and therefore you see these things. So whenever esrog has blat fleklach, it's kosher, it's fine. It's not an issue, it's fine. So in Lubavitch, we look for a nice gidl esrog, and if there's blat fleklach, we don't mind. We don't mind blat fleklach on the esrog. Other people look to get a very clean esrog that has mamish nothing, not even a blat fleckle, even if the gidl is not so nice. In Lubavitch, we look for a nice, beautiful esrog, the gidl, and the blat fleckle is not an issue. It's not a problem. And even if it's on top part of the esrog has a blat fleckle, it's also fine. It's okay. It's not an issue. If it's a nice gidl, beautiful esrog, even if there's a small blat fleckle on top, it's still okay. It's still fine. It's not a reason not to take it. Some people, they have a preference that they want that the top should be completely clean. It shouldn't even be blat flecklach. But it's not officially an issue. It's not officially an issue. Blat flecklach, the Alter Rebbe says, is kosher. It's not called shinui mare. It's nechshoven gam kein mare esrig. That's what the Alter Rebbe says.
What's the block? You're doing that black spot?
What?
Black spot.
No, black spot came on the esrig as a fault. It's a fault in the esrog. These are not black. These are not black. These are a beige color. It's a beige color of or brown. Brownish is also good. Brownish is also a natural color that can come from the blat flecklach. Brownish and beigeish, that's the color that's blat flecklach that are okay. So you can have them in many different shapes. But once you get to know what it is, if you have a suffix, the people who deal with esrogim, they'll be able to tell you right away if this is a blat fleckle or not. Blat fleckle, not something you should make an issue out of, generally. Okay, there are esrogim that have pitims, and esrogim that don't have any pitims. And an esrog that doesn't have a pitim, the way the Alter Rebbe puts it in Shulchan Aruch is that it grows without a pitim. And the siman is that in the tip, where the pitim is supposed to be, there's a little piece of, looks like a something wooden, right? Looks like a woodish color. And there's like a little hole that goes down into the esrog. That's the nature of these esrogim. Instead of a pitim, it's the opposite. There's something that it goes like a little bit in on the top of the esrog. That's the nature of the esrogim that don't have pitims. Anyway, esrogim that don't have pitims are good. It's not a problem. The Rebbe's esrog generally had a pitim. Okay, maybe it's called a hiddur to have a pitim. I don't know officially it's together, but something. What? If the pitim breaks on Chol Hamoed, it's possible. Yeah, because it's misad hodor. If the ukitz comes out, it's kosher. If the pitim comes out, it's possible.
So this is just a dent or a hole?
Again, k'moy guma. Sheyesh len b'mokem ha'pitma k'moy guma metchilas briyaseh. It looks like a little hole. If
there's a hole.
Not mamish a hole. It's just a shape. The shape of the tip on the top of the esrog is like a little hole that goes in. But
if there is a hole in the top?
The real hole, it could be a problem. Nekev is a whole issue. Some say a nekev is different opinions. If there has a hole, okay.
What about the size of the esrog? Is
They go big? Well, esrog has a certain shear, how big it has to be, and bigger than the minimum shear is called a hidur. But it doesn't mean that it should be extremely big. And,
the shear is very small.
the shear is kibeya, the size of an egg. That's the shear of an esrog, size of an egg. Ein shir legoidel esrog lemaila shafilu hu godel kol kachat shenitul ala kosef areze kosher. Even if you have to carry it on your shoulder, it's kosher. There's no shir, but you could say that a small esrog like the size of an egg or a bigger one, bigger is nicer. Yeah, if it's nicer, it's Indian, it should be bigger. It doesn't mean very big. Some people like a very big esrog, but a very big esrog is nicer than a nice size esrog that's not very big. Depends on your preference, what you like. Okay, everyone knows that the first day of Sukkot and the second day of Sukkot, it has to be lochem. When you take it, DALED MINIM has to belong to you to be to the mitzvah. The rest of Sukkot could even be someone else's. The first day and the second day has to be yours. Therefore, if anyone who's using someone else's lulav and esrog, you say matana manas lahachzir. You make sure that the person tells you he's giving to you matana manas lahachzir. So therefore, when you get it, it's yours. It says lokachtam lochem. And then there's a discussion in Shulchan Aruch about children under bar mitzvah. And it says that you shouldn't give the lulav matana manas lahachzir to a child under bar mitzvah, because if you do, he won't be able to give it back to you. So unless no gedolim are going to need it anymore, it's the second day of Sukkot, and all the people over bar mitzvah already used it, and you only have children, then you can give it to the child. But before then, you can't give the lulav and esrog to the children. They cannot be koine it, because if they do, then there's no way they can give it back to you. A godel gives it back to you, it becomes yours again. But if a cotton gives it back to you, it doesn't become yours. So therefore,
why is it going to get it?
because midrabanon, certain age ktanim could be koine, but they can't be makna. That's the halacha.
But if they're not marking it back, so it means it never became theirs.
If you say al manas lahachzir, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, but you're not accomplishing anything, though. Not accomplishing anything. Shulchan Aruch says you shouldn't give it to them. You shouldn't give it to them as a matona. If you say al manas lahachzir, and since they can't, maybe it's, but it doesn't accomplish anything. It's not going to become theirs. Al kaponim. So if you want to be, some people, mitzat the mitzvah of chinuch, to be mechanech a child on the bar mitzvah, to do the mitzvah of lulav. So some people get DALED MINIM for the children. But most people don't do that, and we hold that you can be mekayim the mitzvah of chinuch without it belonging to the cotton. That's what's accepted by chassidim generally. That way.
How do you do that?
Again, you give it to the child, but you're not maknet to the child. You let him use yours. The din of lochem is not needed for chinuch. That's what is accepted. The first day also. That children under bar mitzvah, if you don't have a separate lulav and esrog for them, so you give them yours, but not that it should be theirs. You just let them use yours for the mitzvah. That's all. You let them use yours, but you're not giving it to them.
Can you make a bracha on it then?
They could make a bracha, because mitzat chiduch, it doesn't have to belong to them. This part of it, is not a t'nai in the chinuch. The chinuch is that he takes the lulav and he shakes it. He doesn't have to. This detail that has to be his. That's not part of the mitzvah of chinuch. That's what some place can say. What? Woman over bas mitzvah could be makna as well. Sure, you can give it to them. They'll give it back to you. Yeah. Yeah. They can only make a bracha if it's theirs, avada. Woman over bar mitzvah can only make a bracha if they're doing the mitzvah. A cotton makes a bracha mishat chinuch, so it's different. But a woman over bar mitzvah, they're not mechuyev in the mitzvah, but if they want, they can do the mitzvah and make a bracha, but only if they're doing the mitzvah. The mitzvah is only if it's going to belong to them. So women also, and girls, over bas mitzvah, you do give it to them, atona manas lahachzir.
Okay, any questions?
The Shana Rabbi that they waited to give the
Shana Rabbah what?
4 days. Woman only got it after Shana Rabbah. By Shana
It was not nothing to do with halacha of matalam las lahachs. No, it's a different reason. Whatever the reason is. Why the Rebbe's lulav and esrog was only available for the woman on Shana Rabbah? I don't know the reason. I don't know the reason for that. But
The chiyuv is just like by shofar.
no,
Yeah.
women are not chayiv in shofar and not in lulav. It's called mitzvah seser shezeman grama. They're not mechuyev at all. By shofar, the Alter Rebbe
I
says.
understand the same not.
Afal pi shanoshim turois. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe doesn't say really. Even by shofar, he doesn't really say that the Noshim accepted to do this. He says they could. But in other Sforim, I think it says that the Noshim accepted upon themselves to do shofar. But by lulav, it doesn't say.
Doesn't say that either?
No. By lulav, it doesn't say that they accepted upon themselves to do lulav. And I think that the Metzia says even until today, that in the Frume Welt, not all ladies are makpid to take lulav every day of Sukkot. Because in the Frume Welt, not Lubavitch, I don't think that all the women and girls are makpid to take a lulav, make sure to take a lulav every day of Sukkot. In Lubavitch, we're very careful about that. It's an opportunity to do a mitzvah. But it's not a chiyuv. Ladies are not mechuyev. But if you want to do it with them, it has to be matanam nas lahachse. That's the only way they can make a bracha, because they're doing their ma'aseh mitzvah, if it's lachem, the first 2 days. Chalamayid, shol is kosher as well. Okay, fine. Any questions? Any more questions?
Why do that extra
Well, it says that mishtadlim haravis leiro kolkach, right? It says in the Minhagi Chabad that we want that the haravis shouldn't be so visible. Notice haravis represents, right? It's known that there's different types of people. Haravis represents the types that ain't behem leitam v'leireach. Nevertheless, when you tie them together with all the other ones, they also become elevated. So there's an Indian that should be. The Haravis should be bottled in the Hadassah. They shouldn't be so seen. That's what it says. Mishtadlim sheharavis lo yiro kolkach. That's what it says in the Minhagim. So that's why you have extra Hadassah. It makes sense. The extra Hadassah. So that Haravis should be more bottled. But I think also Hadass is a beautiful item. Haravis is not a beautiful thing. Hadass is a nice thing. It makes the lulav look nicer. They have a lot of Hadassah. It's a hidur. It's nice. The Kashmir is lulav full of Hadassah is a beautiful thing. If you have a bunch of haravis, it's not that accomplishment.
The Esther grows on the tree with the orchids on top. When you shake it, the other way on one shot.
It's supposed to be derech gedei losum. Why is this called derech gedei losum? I think because it grows out of the tree.